All right, guys, are you serious? Are you serious? We have breaking news coming out of the Middle East. There is, we're on the brink of war, to be quite honest. We're literally on the brink of war as 18 rockets have been fired from Gaza into Israel, and the Iron Dome only intercepted 4 of them. That means 14 rockets got through. They were fired at several cities in southern in southern Israel. And Israel has retaliated with strikes in Gaza. But earlier this evening, there was clashes between Palestinian Arabs and Israeli police in a very chaotic confrontation in downtown Jerusalem. So this thing's starting to spin out of control. So the fighting began in Jerusalem, and then 18 rockets fired out of Gaza into Israel, and then Israel airstrikes coming back in to Gaza. Let me put a shout out right now for noblegoldinvestment.com. That's www.noblegoldinvestment.com. Guys, if you're concerned about that 401k or your retirement plan, you might want to consider diversifying to a gold or silver IRA. Simply go to www.noblegoldinvestments.com or pick up the phone to Monday morning and call Colin Plume at 877-646-5347. That's 877-646-5347. Now, if you qualify for a gold or silver IRA, he will give you this Carson City Morgan silver dollar, okay? Way back from the late 1800s, early 1900s, during the days of Wyatt Earp. Great, rare silver dollar. He'll send it to you, and I guarantee you'll be blessed when you receive it. All right. Now, let me just say something right now. Let me tell you what's going on quickly here. Give me just a second because we've got, I need to triple check something right here for the information. So just one moment, please. And we'll be, here we go. And I hope you guys can hear me all right. Can you hear me okay out there? Here's what we're, I want to make sure my mic's turned up enough. Okay. Here's what we're finding out right now. This is breaking news. I know a lot of people are watching the webinar right now, but I have to break in and share this because we're on the break. We're on the break of possibly Psalms 83, because anytime you start seeing the fighting going on in the streets of Jerusalem, and then spill over from Gaza into Israel, this is from the Palestinians. And with the fact that Iran has already been sending missiles, just missed the Israeli nuclear facility yesterday with a missile from Syria. That was the Iranians doing it. With the Russians that are surrounding, and Hezbollah is always dangerous in southern Lebanon. This is what's happening. So we have bombs in the Holy Land tonight. This has just happened within the hour. And let me tell you what's going on. Here's the update right now. Gaza terrorists have fired 18 rockets at Israel in multiple salvos, according to reports and the Times of Israel, as well as Al Jazeera. Nobody's been injured that we know of, but there is damage. And out of the 18 rockets that were fired, the Iron Dome only intercepted 4. That's very concerning. Why can't the Iron Dome get these rockets all of a sudden? Has there been a new technology added to the rockets from Iran, certainly from Russia, is where that would be coming from. And earlier, Hamas had called to attack Israel because there was fierce clashes going on in the streets of Jerusalem tonight. Matter of fact, Palestinians in the Gaza Strip fired 18 rockets toward Israel, into this nation of Israel, in multiple salvos this evening. The worst attack from the Gaza Strip in months, after days of clashes that's been going on between the Israeli police and the Palestinians in Jerusalem and in the West Bank. That's involved a lot of Palestinian and Israeli citizens. It's not just the police. Now you got Arabs and Jews, citizens, fighting each other in Jerusalem and in the West Bank, as well as Israeli security forces involved. And what we're hearing is at 11 o'clock this evening, so this would have just been a few minutes ago, the Israeli Defense Forces said 3 rockets were launched from Gaza, with the Iron Dome system intercepting one of those. 2 other rockets fell in an open area, and the Iron Dome is programmed to not deploy at rockets that are projected to hit non-populated areas. So if they see it's not going to hit a town, they just let it go. But the IDF said that in response to the attack, one of its tanks fired at a Hamas post in Gaza. Now, rocket sirens are again activated several times in the communities near Gaza, with 7 more apparent rocket launches. The Iron Dome was reported to intercept 3 of those rockets, while others fell in open areas. Sirens were again activated this evening, just within the hour, with more rockets that have hit open areas. And the rocket salvos came after hours. The Hamas group that rules Gaza held a series of protests in the Gaza Strip and called for violence against Israel in the wake of the fierce clashing going on today in Jerusalem and in the West Bank between police and extremist Jewish activists and Palestinian protesters. We actually, and that's what how the Times of Israel is reporting this. I'm not so sure about this extremist Jewish activist. I think what you have here is Arabs, Palestinian Arabs, and Jewish citizens going at each other, which is different because normally they attack the IDF, the Israeli Defense Forces. But now you've got citizens fighting citizens, Arabs fighting Jews right in the streets of Jerusalem. Addressing the protesters, senior Hamas leader Maoud Zahar condemned the decision of some Arab states to normalize this is what it's about, to normalize relationship with Israel. So the Abraham Accord is what this is all about. The Hamas leader of the Palestinians is angry with the United Arab Emirates, with Sudan, with Bahrain and Morocco, and probably Kosovo and Serbia, as well as the country of Mali over in Africa. These nations have all signed and built relationships with Israel, normalizing relationships. And already Egypt had that, and already Jordan had that. But this is now what President Trump began, what's called the Abraham Accords, a significant milestone in Middle East peace. But all of a sudden now, Hamas wants to fight in the streets of Jerusalem. And it's Arabs fighting Jews, citizens now, hand-to-hand combat going on right in the streets of Jerusalem, and rockets flying out of Gaza. Meanwhile, we all know what's been going on, that Iran has been just fired that missile from Syria on into Israel, and just barely, missed it by only 10 miles, the Israeli nuclear facility. Also, one of the Israeli weapons factories exploded 2 days ago on Tuesday, and nobody knows how that happened yet. But I would think that's probably sabotaged by the Iranians as well. I want to welcome all 1,000 of you. I know it's late. It's after 11. Many of you are watching the webinar. It's a phenomenal webinar. The response, the feedback we're getting is incredible from all over the world. I just got the phone with a preacher in Melbourne, Australia, and they're watching the webinar right now live or on demand all over the world, in the UK and everywhere else. People are doing binge watching. Lots going on. Now, where is Joe Biden in all of this? How does he fit in? And what about Russia? Are they giving technological advancement, weaponry that Iran can use? Obviously, the missiles that the Iranians fired out of Syria at the Israeli nuclear facility, that missile was a new Russian-made missile with the ability to escape detection by the Iron Dome, by the David's Arrow and Sling and by the American Patriot missile defense system. It got through all three without even being detected. This is very huge. I'm actually going to be interviewing Agent X about this. I'll be putting it on the app. We'll try to get that done tomorrow, and more feedback, because I want you to understand some of this inside information we're getting from this. But anyway, I'm just going to share this right now. This is a very, very, very dangerous situation developing in the middle of all this chaos. We've had a major earthquake tonight. A 6.4 has just rocked Tonga. Our information is that it really, really hit hard. This was within about an hour and a half ago. This massive earthquake of 6.4, a mega quake, it's being called. It's highlighted in red by the U.S. Geological Survey. It first was said that it was a 6.7. They downsized it to 6.4. This has happened within the hour as well. Now, we've been watching, and as I said, when I did that video earlier tonight, when I went live earlier tonight and said that we've got to watch now we got an earthquake watch in play because of the reverberations off this massive solar tsunami eruption on the sun. And I said, look, you can watch for earthquakes anytime now in the next 48 hours. Well, it didn't take that long. It took about 4 or 5 hours. We've got a 6.4 in Tonga, very powerful. And of course, Mike from Around the World's 10 days ago prophesying that there was going to be a natural disaster event on April 25th. We know what that's going to be. We just don't know what the results of it's going to be. But this solar tsunami, the CMEs that's coming off of the sun, is the most powerful one we've seen in decades. And it's going to be a direct hit on the earth on Sunday, April 25th. And now the report is sometime Sunday, April 25th, from the morning until maybe the early morning hours of April 26th. But somewhere in about a 12-hour span, they're expecting this wave, this CME wave, massive wave, to hit the earth, bringing a ton of pressure. And that's obviously Mike from the World's very concerned of a major volcano eruption or a major earthquake. I think that what you're seeing right now, the earthquake that just happened, is part of the climate chaos. It's part of what's actually taking place in this time we live in. So we're really, really, really interesting that of what's taking place. But meanwhile, in the Middle East, let's be honest. I want to thank all 1,300 of you that are with us live. I want to thank Katz, who's actually working the phones in here, and the phones are still ringing. And if you're still wanting to get a ticket for this webinar this weekend, yes, the tickets are on sale all day today, all day tomorrow. Matter of fact, they'll be on sale for the next several days, and you can get your ticket now. Simply pick up the phone and call this number, 765-414-2230. That's 765-414-2230. Or call this number, 765-412-3767. That's 765-412-3767. Or call this third number, which is 765-320-0346. That's 765-320-0346. If you still want to get your ticket, and obviously you can, it's in play right now. People are watching right now. They're binge watching. I just saw a person right now. The webinar is great, everyone. We're enjoying the interviews. Thank you so much, Catherine. I'm so glad that you're enjoying it. And yeah, the feedback we're getting is this is the best one ever. Thank you. This information, it's great. This is vital. We're hearing from people all over the world now, and people are buying their tickets and they're getting ready. Some of you might say, I want the DVD. You can get that. You can order your DVD tonight on the entire webinar. And there's another one, Michelle Gutierrez, saying, yep, it's great. Thank you, Michelle, for that feedback. Donald Oldham saying, I'm watching you on YouTube, Brother Paul. Well, thank you so much. And let's see, what else is going on? Yes. Patriot Party says, we think we're on the cusp of a huge war. I agree. I'm very worried that we might be seeing Psalms 83 or actually even possibly Ezekiel 38. I'm telling you, it's that dangerous. There's always World War III out there, and that's in the Bible also. It's Revelation chapter 9, and I don't want to see any of these. But then again, I can't stop prophecy. It's very, very serious right now. Boy, I tell you. And the reason that they're fighting in the streets, yeah, and Isaiah 17 is another one. Thank you, Lisa. Because if you hit Israel's nukes, they're going to, look, that's the end of Tehran, Iran, and that'll be the end of Damascus as well. And that's actually prophesied in Jeremiah 49 that will happen. It's also prophesied that the destruction of Damascus is in Isaiah 17. So it is all there, guys. What I'm telling you is what's happening right before our very eyes is prophesied to happen. And so for those of you just joining us, let me tell you exactly what's going on. We have, here's another report. This is Reuters. Scores of people have now been injured in Jerusalem tonight as Israelis and Arabs are clashing. Citizens now, not the IDF fighting against maybe terrorist activities by the Palestinians, which happens a lot there. No, this is between Israeli citizens and Arabs, Palestinians, fighting hand to hand, knives and beating each other in the streets of Jerusalem tonight. And it's absolutely crazy. 100 people have been injured after a night of violence in Jerusalem. Israeli police said they've made over 50 arrests, and Palestinian medics said 100 people have been injured in what's called the Ramadan clashes in the contested city of there in Jerusalem. Unbelievable. Israelis and Palestinians fighting hand to hand. The citizens are fire burning in the streets of Jerusalem. And it started this evening. And the police in riot gear and on horseback have fought to keep apart these two groups of protesters. Palestinians throwing rocks and firecrackers and setting fire in the streets and garbage bins and also burning cars, that kind of thing. And Israelis involved also throwing rocks and coming out with clubs and chanting slogans against the Arabs. And the police are deployed. The Israeli Defense Department police have deployed armored vehicles. They're spraying a foul-smelling skunk water toward both groups, trying to back both groups off. Palestinians gathered around Jerusalem's historic Damascus Gate, and I've been there many times, and that is a dangerous spot. That's where a lot of bombings have happened, a lot of stabbings have happened. I was in Jerusalem in 2015 during what's called the stabbing, it's called the knife intifada. I was there during that intifada, and there were people getting stabbed every day while I was in Jerusalem. But it was always between Palestinians and Israeli defense forces. Palestinians would attack the police, and then there would be a shooting, and that'd be the end of it. Okay, they would come up and start stabbing police officers, and of course, police would shoot them, the Palestinians dead, and that would be the end of it. But this went on every day for the 10 days I was there that week. I was filming, but I was safe because I always, the tourists are safe because we're not the target at all. Nobody wants to hurt us. But these clashes now are really bad, guys. Fighting in the streets of Jerusalem, and 18 rockets have been fired from Gaza into Israel, 4 of them being knocked down by the Israeli Iron Dome. Israel has also fired tanks into Gaza, knocking out Hamas headquarters or bases, some of their outposts. Palestinians say police have tried to prevent them from holding their usual Ramadan evening gatherings outside the Damascus Gate, which is a very historic landmark on the north side of the old city, adjacent to the several Palestinian neighborhoods. Meanwhile, videos and social media are showing that the Palestinians are slapping, otherwise assaulting ultra-Orthodox Jews who are walking in the streets, and they just walk up to them and they slap them and or punch them and beat them down. And these are those guys with the big hats and you know the Orthodox, the ultra Orthodox Jews, and so they're attacking them in the streets of Jerusalem. So the violence appeared to give way, but there's 60,000 Muslim worshipers right now are filling the old city, coming to the Temple Mount for prayer at noon every day at the Al-Aqsa Mosque, which is because they're in the 17 days of Ramadan. And I've been in Israel during Ramadan, and there's thousands and thousands of Muslim worshipers that converge on the old city of Jerusalem, and they go to the Temple Mount to pray. But it's usually, I've been there, it's always been very peaceful, you know, and respectful, even though the three major religions, I'm telling you, the three religions of the apocalypse are trying to coexist, if you can, in the holiest city in the world, Jerusalem, and the holiest location in the world, the Temple Mount, where Solomon's temple once stood and where God himself lived on the holy mountain. So you have to understand, that's why the Jews want to go up there and pray, and they want to rebuild the third temple. That's why the Muslims go up there and pray, because they believe that's where Muhammad was taken away into heaven on a white horse. And the Christians want to go up there and pray because these are the footsteps of Jesus Christ, where he healed many of the sick and the blind and taught in the streets on the steps of the temple in Jerusalem. Everybody wants to be there, and it's a spiritual portal of the world. I mean, it's where God himself came down and stood. It's also the same place where the Ark of the Covenant was sitting inside the Holy of Holies. It is the place where when Jesus Christ returns, he will live and reign 1,000 years from the streets and the cities of Jerusalem. And soon, before that even happens, the two witnesses will be preaching in the streets of Jerusalem. And you can find that in Revelation chapter 11. That is why I'm staying on top of these stories and bringing it to you tonight, because we're living in the last days. Please pray for the peace of Jerusalem. The Bible says, if you do, you shall prosper. You will prosper. If you bless Israel, you will be blessed. If you curse Israel, you will be cursed. You will see now there will be people out there on YouTube, some of them even, Christians, religious teachers maybe, who will try to blame this on the Jews, try to blame this on the Jewish nation of Israel or upon God's chosen people. And you'll hear that, or you may see that taught, but that is false teaching, because that's the Bible tells you that Jerusalem, Zechariah chapter 12, Jerusalem will be becoming a cup of trembling and the burden thereof. How do you want to come in here, sweetheart? Okay. All right. So I got to get out of here. I got to go to bed. Guys, thank you so much. It's amazing. Stay focused, and I'll see you guys tomorrow. Pray for the peace of Jerusalem. We're in the last days. All right. God bless all of you. God bless. Are you saved? Are you serious?